right, Mr. Collins,
Yes, ma'am.
would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Leslie Collins Jr., 425-625.
Okay, Mr. Collins, I'm gonna, Mrs. Jackson, was the trial judge in your case. And so she's gonna recuse herself from this proceeding.
Okay.
So let me acknowledge first the folks who are here today. We have in support there with you, Tiffany Davis, Henry Davis, and Bobby Wallace. And here with us in Baton Rouge, we have Shelby Collins and Valerie Watkins. In opposition, we also have Elizabeth Foose, Laura Carrington, Miriam Giesler, Susan Carroll, and a representative from the DA's office in East Baton Rouge Parish. First, Mr. Collins, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record and ask you to confirm it, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marabella. Your case has been assigned to him. He'll take the lead on you. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Collins, you're here today before the pardon board because you are seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in East Baton Rouge Parish, the 19th Judicial District. In June 29th of 2000, you received a life sentence, 2 counts of aggravated rape, second-degree kidnapping, and attempted second-degree kidnapping. 2 counts. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you answer Mr. Marabella's questions?
Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. My name is Tony Marabella. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 56.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
25 years and 28 days.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background, Mr. Collins. How far did you go in school?
I graduated from Glen Oaks High in 1986, and I went 3 years of Baton Rouge School of Computer, and I dropped out to get when I got my CDL license.
And in 1998, were you working?
Yes, sir, for Klein Peter Milk.
Okay. And what did you do for Klein Peter?
I had a night route where I delivered to like 48 or 49 schools. They'll have their order on the door, and I have a key to every one of them, and I'll deliver the milk and put it in the cooler with their receipt. And that's it. I'll come Monday through Friday.
Now, at that time, did you have any kind of a drinking issue or a drug issue?
I had no drug issue, but I drink occasionally.
What do you consider occasionally? Tell me a little bit about your drinking.
Probably Saturday and Sunday, I'll get a 6-pack.
What was your marital relationship then? Were you married at the time?
I had been married. Yes, sir. I've been married right at 4 years.
And who were you married to?
My ex-wife name is Carletta Guy.
You're no longer married to her? When did that marriage terminate?
We got divorced in 06, 05 or 06.
So probably what, 8 years after you went to prison?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about what happened on, you were convicted of 3 separate offenses, okay? Or at least 3 separate offenses were involved. May, July 2nd, and July 29th of 1998. Let's talk about the one on May 1st of 1998 involving Miss Allison Harper. Tell me what happened in your own words. I want you to understand, and I believe you do, got the complete file, the record, and everything else. I just want to know what your position is and what your story is.
Well, with Miss Harper, I met her, and I believe it was at the corner of Highland Road and West State Street. And we drove to a location and I forced myself upon her.
Whoa, wait. You say you met her. How did you meet her?
At the Circle K. And I was going over some friend's house and I asked her to show
Now,
me.
I think we might be confused about which one we're talking about. I'm talking about the one on May 1st. Ms. Harper was an LSU student getting into her apartment. Remember what I'm talking about now? That's the first.
Yeah,
So tell me about that.
I met her, Jesus Christ. And I met her at the same place, I would believe. It's been a minute, sir. I ask you for forgiveness, but she drove to a location by Tigerland.
Well, you say you met her. How did you meet her? I mean, y'all were friends? Were you-
No, sir. She followed me to a location and
How is it that she followed her? I mean, what prompted her to follow? You've been convicted of rape now, so if you want to be honest with me and tell me exactly what happened, go ahead. But if your story is, oh, I just met these ladies and we got chatting and
I know, sir.
and I forced myself. Now, you're gonna either be honest with me.
She
Cutting out a little bit, or maybe you're just not answering. I'm not sure.
No, it's cutting out a little bit. I'm trying to recall. It's been 25 years, but she
I'm sure they
I
remember.
told her about a party and I asked her to show me this location and she followed me and we went over by elementary school and that's when I forced myself upon her.
And what was the purpose of your asking her to show you how to get somewhere? And what were you going to do? What did you understand you were going to do when you convinced her to help you?
Oh, it was bad. Sir, would you please repeat that question? It's breaking
My
up.
question is very simple. You got this lady to follow you or to go with you, and your intention was to rape her.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's be honest about that. So this whole idea of going to find some place with a party was just a ruse for you to get her to come with you.
Yes, sir.
And so why?
Well, at the time, me and my wife was going through a bad marriage. We just got into a house in Baker, and my wife told me, I have two girls, Ashley and Amber, and she told me that my first kid wasn't mine, and it come as a surprise, and something just snapped in me, and our marriage went downhill from there, and we were trying to work on it in between the time that I've done what I've done, and I'm not using that as a scapegoat because there's no reason to do what I've done.
Well, you did write that in your application, that what you were going through with your wife had a lot to do with this, although you said, I'm not blaming that completely on it. Can we both?
Yeah, that's
on May the 1st of
that's the main reason why.
Let me finish my question. Can we both agree that on May 1st of 1998, when you came in contact with Ms. Harper, it was your intention to get her to come with you so you could rape her?
Yes, sir.
So tell me what you did.
I forced myself upon her.
Did you harm her? Did you punch her? How did you force yourself on her?
Yeah, I slapped her with the keys. I had a key ring with a with a bottle cap opener on there, and when I slapped her, it scratched her in the face.
July the 2nd of 1998, very similar circumstance. Miss Carroll.
Yes, Miss Denise Carroll. I told her I was looking for a party, and she knew where it was at, and she got in my vehicle, and we went over by the Catholic church, and I forced myself upon
It was your
her as well.
intention when you met Miss Carroll to try to get her to come with you to rape her.
Yes, sir.
And what did you do? How did you physically, obviously you harmed her significantly, but what did you physically do to her?
Miss Harper,
Carroll, the second.
Denise Carroll,
Yes.
just had sex.
You forced yourself on her.
Yes, sir.
How did you force yourself on her?
By getting on her. I use no punches or nothing.
July 29th, on July Street, Miss Laura Pierce. Tell me about that incident.
I was coming from the apartments, talking to a young lady I know named Dawn, and my truck clunked out on me, and I needed her to pump the brakes for me. And she started up and pumped the brakes, and I put the hood down, and I came around there, and I was finna get in the car, and I made her get out on the other side, but she took it as the wrong way.
So you had just, within 2 months before, picked up 2 women and raped them. And here's another one that believes you're about to try to kidnap her. You didn't have that same intent?
No, sir, not on that. No.
What was your intentions on her?
Well, she was in the driver's seat as I walked around there. I was finna get in the car, and she got in, and I blocked the way, and I said, "Well, excuse me," and she got out. And I closed the door, I closed my truck door, and I left.
Mr. Collins, you've taken sex offender treatment?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I took it in 03 risk management, and then I got a certificate, and in 04 I facilitated the class.
I understand that. But it's surprising to me that having done all of those things, have done all of that work that you've done while you've been in prison, you still describe these horrible rapes as, well, I just had sex with the second lady, and first one I kind of forced myself on them, and yeah, I just kind of slapped her with this. You don't seem to really understand the significance of what you've done to these victims.
Sir, I know what I done was horrible, and I had no business doing that. And I'm very remorseful for what I've done to hurt 2 young ladies. If I ever get the chance, I ask them for forgiveness. I shouldn't have done what I've done. I'm owning up. It's my fault and responsibility for what happened to the 2 young ladies, and my only lifeline and support is women. I got 3 sisters and 2 daughters, and I never want them to ever have to go through what I put them through.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more time.
So I am very remote.
I'm going to ask you, since you've been in prison all of this time, explain to me, as best you understand, why you did what you did, why you raped these two women. Now, you said, oh, maybe my wife had something to do with it. But you told the judge, and your position was, oh, these were, you even called them prostitutes. You lied about what you even did. So tell me now, as you sit here before me and you look back on who you were then, why did you commit these horrible crimes against these women?
Mr. Marabella, when I knew I was coming here today to explain my situation, the first thing I thought of was all the lies that I've told Miss Jackson during the trial about Allison Harper and Denise Carroll. I know what I done was wrong. And I had no business doing what I've done. But I come here today to tell the truth because this is clemency. This is for remorsefulness and for truthfulness. You know, what I said at trial all was pretty much made up. And even Your Honorable Jackson told me that I was one of the worst liars she ever met. I come here today to straighten the story up. I was wrong. I take full responsibility for hurting two young ladies. But also at the same time, I'm very remorseful for what I've done.
Well, tell me how you think you've hurt them. What do you think they've experienced?
Well, I'm in my 7th month of victim awareness, and we always talk about the victim, the victim itself, the people you hurt, the tertiary victim, which is like the third, or could be her bosses, her daughters, or whatever. But I know I've hurt more than one person by what I've done, and I'm very remorseful, sir. If I had the chance, I would ask him for forgiveness from the bottom of my heart. I'm not the same person who in 1998 came to the penitentiary.
Mr. Collins, I hear you talking about you. My question to you is, what do you think your actions did to them? I hear you talking, oh, I'm remorseful, all of those things, I'm a changed person. But what do you understand what you did to these ladies, how it's affected them?
Yeah, it may have affected them through marriage. It may have them having nightmares at night. I remember when I was in trial, they both said they went to rape crisis. I know I've heard them, and I'm very remorseful for that.
What programs have you taken while you've been in prison that have been the ones that have helped you the most?
The ones that have helped me the most, I would definitely say I'm in 7 months of victim awareness. It helped me a whole bunch. And the risk management with the 27 risk factors, I've taken it and I facilitated. I've taught dudes after I got out of it, I taught it for about 1.5 years at Camp D. And anger management, I've got a certificate in that and 100 hours.
What would be your transition plan if you were ever to be released? Where would you live? Where would you go? What kind of work would you do?
Well, I got a welding certificate in here, and I knew a little something about welding on the street, but if I was to leave, I would reapply and get my CDL license, my Class A CDL license back, and possibly drive truck again.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Collins?
Really don't have anything to add, Mr. Marabella, at this point.
Madam Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Humphrey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Collins,
Yes, sir.
good afternoon. I see where you completed your sex offender treatment in 2004. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you been to the working cell block anytime after 2004?
Yes, sir.
What were you there for?
After '04, I had 2 fights and I had a few 21s in my jacket.
And you had not a few, you had 4 21 sex offenses after you completed your sex offender treatment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Last one was 2014. Is that correct?
My very last write-up, yes, sir.
So you tell me that you have rehabilitated yourself. You're not a danger to society anymore, but after you completed and facilitated sex offender treatment, you had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 sex offenses. All serious, and you were sent to the working cell block.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rusher. Okay, Mr. Collins, we'd like to hear from the folks who are there with you in support, and we have indicated they want to speak is Bobby Wallace.
Good evening, how you doing?
Go ahead.
Every time I appear before this board, it's like a cake. Every guy I come to represent or speak about for the character, they have been a part of pouring a part into my life at some point or another. And we don't talk about what we did. We talk about the thing that we try to change and we try to be better people. And we run across each other's paths at different times. You know, I've run across Mr. Leslie quite a few times. And we sat down and we talked. And our paths ran different, but every time we get together, he sowed a seed into me because of the type of things he was into. He was trying to go to church. He was going to church. And you know, he was a real good guy. He do whatever he can to try and better himself, and he'd be around positive people. He stayed himself a lot, and I had a good vibe with him. He's my brother. We go to church together. So I'm saying that to say that, you know, everybody make bad choices, no matter how bad the decision is. You make mistakes. However, the heart and God is going to do whatever. And I thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak on his behalf.
Well, thank you. We appreciate hearing from you. Now we'll hear from the opposition. And first, could we hear from Ms. Elizabeth?
Hi, thank you. I'm an educator and a longtime family friend of one of his victims. And I have spent the morning watching this board, and I want to start by commending you all for how thoughtfully you all approach your job and the genuine equitable consideration you give to each person who has come before you today. It's really impressive and I appreciate it. I'm here today because it is important all these years later to speak to the ongoing trauma and damage that this man continues to force upon good, honest people who do not deserve such horrors. This man is not just a convicted rapist. He is a serial rapist. He raped intentionally. He had a plan. He had a scheme that he used. He had a notebook that he carried around in his truck that he used to track and to lure. He had an area that he searched. He had a type. There are more than just two, the two that he was convicted for. Thank God he was caught. I sat with the victims during the very long, brutal trial where he, yes, accused them of being prostitutes who were just angry. And because the families of the victims were in the courtroom, I sat with the victims so they had some support. And so I didn't just watch these young college freshmen and sophomores reel from this unfixable damage. But I watch their fathers and their grandparents and their mothers also go through this real life, never wake up from a nightmare. Hundreds of people suffer to this day from his crimes, his selfish, compulsive actions. Do not release this man into the world to do this again. Premeditated serial rape is not a curable behavior. Remorse is irrelevant. This man is a danger to society. Please keep us all safe. Please keep him in prison. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Carroll? Would you step up to the podium? Everything Beth said, I was going to say that she said it much more eloquently than me. The only thing I can say is that my daughter's not here because she couldn't. We can't. We're reliving. This is like 20 years ago, 23 years ago. Today is the same thing. And she just couldn't do it. So I'm doing it for her as well as all my friends. The offender's life has changed. And so have my daughters and ours and all the other girls. And they will be living with it for the rest of their lives. And I truly feel that he should live with it for the rest of his life and that his sentence was appropriate. Period. Thank you for being here and listening. Like Deb said, I respect you and the job you have to do. Thank you, ma'am. Liaison office.
Thank you, Chairman Rosado. There's really not much more to say after everything we've heard. I will just add that there is a reason why the crime of aggravated rape, which is now first degree rape in the state of Louisiana, carries a life sentence. And you can just things as well. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Collins, is there a statement you'd like to make to us before we go?
Yes, ma'am. To all the opposition and to y'all, I want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity. I'm very, very, very remorseful and very sorry how I hurt Miss Carroll and Miss Harper. I put myself in a very, very bad position in life. I'm like Mr. Wallace said, I made a lot of bad decisions in life. And I'm very, very, very remorseful. I'm sorry how I done what I've done and got the label that the state of Louisiana or what y'all just labeled me as, and it's not like that. I'm not the same person from 1998 to right now. I made bad decisions in the penitentiary as well with the 21s and the jacket, but as you can see, in 2014, I took a whole turn in life. I really established my relationship with God. I live by the word of God. This, you may be used to hearing this because guys want to seek their freedom, but I'm really, really honestly with you, telling you this. And I hope and pray for Miss Carroll and Miss Harper. That their life can move crying, and I hope any guy that they run across don't have to suffer because of what I done them. You know, I am very, very remorseful, and I understand.
All right, we're having some technical issues, but I think we're prepared to vote. Can you hear us okay over there at the penitentiary?
We can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Marabella will be voting first.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Collins, you know, I think while you've been in prison, you've learned a lot of things. I think you learned them like a lot of people learn and memorize things and kind of repeat them. I don't think that they've sunk in. I don't think that the sex offender treatment really took. The way you describe these horrible crimes clearly makes me understand that had you not been caught, there probably would have been a lot more victims doing what you were doing. Based upon the nature of the crime, the multiple victims, the effect on these victims, your attitude about what it is you did, law enforcement opposition, victim opposition, in my opinion, insufficient time, sir. My vote would be to deny it today. Good luck to you.
Mr. Freeman,
I concur totally with Mr. Marabella has said. I thank the victim for showing up and his family. But I concur.
Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank everybody for their participation because the victim's input is a very important part of this process. My vote is the same for the same reasons.
Mr. Collins, I'm glad to hear you say that your life has taken a turn starting in 2014. That's good to hear. And as I understand it, I believe your job is at the chapel. Do you still work at the chapel?
Yes, ma'am. I've been there for 7 years. I'm the groundkeeper.
Well, that's good to hear. I will say this, I do agree with my colleagues at this time. I just don't think you're ready yet. I think there still could be a public safety risk. So my vote today is to deny. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.